Nice web, Mr. Cracksminder. Nice web, Mr. Cracksminder. Nice web, Mr. Cracksminder. Nice web, Mr. Cracksminder. Web structure with nice web, Mr. Cracksminder. And raised over 100 young. The mate got a restraining order. Now the spider can't go within 100 centimeters of the web. The spider built a web. And raised over spider figures building.
Hello, hello.
Hey, we doing this thing? What's up, everybody?
What's up?
Howdy, howdy.
Hey
We're
guys.
here with Rachel and Chance and Jim and Gordy and anybody else who wants to jump in, jump in. You got the links in the Telegram. Rachel, Chance, thank you for coming.
Yeah, I like doing stuff like this.
I like
It's
your
pretty awesome.
moody light, man. You're very heavy tonight.
I'm shrouded in darkness. I got a Buddha on my chest, so you know.
That's
I
a
think
very
still
good-
not all of us can be as vibrant as Jim right now.
I'm wearing my lucky peacock shirt.
How'd you make yourself look like a hologram? This some Zoom wizardry?
Little Zoom wizardry.
I
Wearing
like
my
Magic.
magical green shirt. Green screen style.
You have so many shirts. I was asking him where he got all these amazing shirts. He said thrift store. I don't believe it.
I sew them all.
You got a little sweatshop in the back
Yeah.
of little Korean girls making hologram shirts for you.
Hologram shirts. Yes.
Could you make hologram shirts? Is that something that people do? Like, would you wear a belt that projected a shirt onto you? And like,
Oh,
what would it
yeah.
take?
I was like, oh yeah, you can make yourself look so buff. Be rad.
I want to
You
put my
guys
art
saw
on
that,
this
like, that
full
statue.
printing shirts.
Did you guys see
What's-
that? Sorry to interrupt. Did you see that
No.
statue of like, it's supposed to be the Antichrist, supposedly? I couldn't find very much on it, but that's the thing.
Links.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's
what's
that? I haven't heard that.
Yeah, look that up. I can't remember where I saw that. Somebody posted it, but that's the idea, is that you can project any form onto it, including yourself. Well, how much fun would that be? Take the family, everyone be God for a day. Everyone be a giant for like 2 minutes.
That would be awesome. Awesome.
That's
You
how
could
you
be
sell
Mickey.
it.
Okay, let's see. Meet the Giant 10-story. Is that the 10-story one?
Maybe it's like blank.
Huh.
Gosh, where did I see that?
So I found out something
Oh.
fun today while we're looking for this. You aren't legally allowed to know which scariant gave you cooties, even if it's the Delta. Apparently, that's a legal fact. You can't know which type of cooties that you had, which scariant. It's not your right to have that information. It's just your right to get cooties or get your MAGA warp speed jab.
Yeah,
Oh,
you know,
that makes sense. There's no way to tell anyway what cooties you've got specifically because they don't know what it is. They haven't isolated the cootie from the cootie.
Yeah, I was just dipping my toes into cooties land today a little bit to catch up, I try not to think about it too much, but sometimes it's just funny stuff. Also, the fully vaxxed-hearted, you could say, have reportedly got 250 times the viral load in their nasal swabs as the untarded. So
if you've been tested, you have the higher chance of getting it. Is that what you're saying?
no, not tested. The ones who are
Yep,
fully, yeah, 100%. They've got their, they've got their certification cards.
Oh, right.
It comes with 250% more viral load in your nose, free of charge,
Oh,
according to the
Bonus.
article I had here.
There's a grocery store in my neighborhood, and it's called Super One Foods, and they have on the grocery bag, it says something like 200% fresher on the side of the bag. And like that makes no sense to me at all. Like, how could something be 200% fresher? And then what? Just but I guess if you have your card, then you are
there it
200%
is.
fresher.
Huh.
Fresher than what?
Exactly.
Fresher than a corpse?
Yeah.
Is it Alan Marcus showing up tonight?
Alan
Is he
Marcus.
there? Alan Marcus, are you here? So Chance, going back to that,
So
did you guys read the FDA approval thing? The rundown?
I did see the part where it's only people, I guess, that are underage, minors, that it's remaining in emergency use for. I hear that now that it's got FDA approval, the hesitant will have less of a leg to stand on, and corporations will be more readily able to pass mandates for their employees because it's magically safer now that it's approved. It's the same exact thing, whatever it is, but much, much safer with this stamp of approval. But what other things are FDA approved and what others are not? That's the question. We could make a list.
heroin, fentanyl, opiates, any opiates, oxys, any of them, Klonopin, Adderall. I mean, all those things are killers. And in the FDA thing, it does mention myocarditis and pericarditis, which is basically heart disease. And they're freely admitting, like, oh, it causes this. Sorry, Alan, you are here? No.
Technical difficulties for Alan, unless he's about to
I'm
speak.
here. Are you hearing me?
There he is.
There
Hello,
we go.
Alan.
Hello.
you doing,
you're
buddy?
Talking about the flow state, and I'd like to talk about the flow state right now. How I like to try and block advertisements and all of that, and then all of a sudden, oh, I blocked too many things. So my flow state has been disrupted because I blocked too many things, and then I have to unblock them and let some things in.
You're talking about like surfing.
I'm talking about surfing the web, man, and there's a lot
Surf's
of
up.
there's a lot of dangers in these webs these days that you want to maybe avoid or not have show up on your radar if you're a submarine and you want to just stay under that radar. I'm talking about cookies cooking in the Navy kitchen.
Delete those all the time. Let them burn in the oven. It's cool. You don't need those.
There's a screen door on the submarine and they're letting the mosquitoes in.
Gross. Totally gross. I don't have a solution for that. Yeah.
I was inside and then I walked outside to bring out some compost stuff, some veggie scraps. And I'm out there and I'm wearing this bright green t-shirt and I hear this couple kind of go, oh, they're kind of shocked that I was standing in my garden. I was shocked that they were standing behind my neighbor's garage. It turns out that they had followed a path from their house all the way to behind my neighbor's garage. So I was surprised that they were there. They were surprised that they were there. And I was like, if you just continued walking towards the direction you were walking before you took the detour up to the back of the garage, you would reach the sidewalk and the street and you'd be free. But they were kind of winded because they walked up a steep hill and I wasn't going to tell them, well, you're on someone else's property now. So they're like, I think we're just going to keep walking, find the nearest sidewalk, and then find our way home. They were in their flow state, and I didn't want to disrupt them.
Generous of you.
Yes.
Didn't
they-
feel like making claim to that property of land, air, or water.
Well, we had communally extended the public walking and hiking path, which is kind of out in no man's land. Maybe a four-wheeler was back there in a place where four-wheelers are not technically allowed to be, but they do a great job of forging paths for us. So they're following the tire tracks of the four-wheeler, which went up behind someone's garage.
Have you ever found yourself getting irritated at a rule breaker without having any reason to be irritated other than it was the rule?
Sometimes.
I've caught myself there before and then gone, why do I care? I guess I don't. Never mind. Because at the park that I walk at, there's a path that goes around a big pond and bicycles are not allowed. There are signs that say not allowed. And sometimes people ride their bike through there anyway. And I've noticed that it doesn't cause any trouble. But the first time I saw a biker there, my gut reaction was, look at them. How rude. You
Is
know,
it a mountain bike? Is there a mountain they're climbing with their bike?
it's
is
a
it a
very
motorized-
non-mountainous area, quite flat.
Is it a motorized vehicle?
Not even.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I used to ride a mountain bike along the hiking trails, and I didn't have a problem with that. But as soon as you get a four-wheeler with an engine revving, and then they get stuck in the mud for an hour, and all you hear is for an hour, and you're like, that's not a chainsaw.
That's a
That's-
different situation. I mean, I've been on both sides. Like, I've been that person in the park, like, nobody's biking on this grass. This is for me. But I've also been that biker, like, I'm going to be late for work. So there better be grace because I'm biking right through this park.
Well, when you got to go to work, you got to go to work.
Yeah. I want to
Alan
enjoy
really
my
was
bike to
standing
work.
by. Look at that. He's standing after all.
Yeah, this is the first time I'm seeing myself on video, so I don't know what I'm seeing.
Hey,
Alan's
looks like Alan Marcus.
in his field. You're an
Yeah, I
outstanding gentleman.
Yeah, I got to turn that filter off, I think.
Your aura is very blurry tonight.
Yeah,
Are you all right?
I need to go clear. Do you have a program for me?
So, Chance, I was thinking about that. Were you thinking like just being a rule breaker to break rules, like just out of pure rebellion?
No,
Is that
I was
what
just
you're-
wondering if anyone has ever caught the mind virus super ego AI install spyware overriding their thoughts for a moment to just make them be annoyed about something that really doesn't matter at all or affect them, strictly because there's a sign or some. Because I think that's where. Well, okay, let's talk about the Karen and the Karine.
Yes, let's please.
I think they
Let's do
pronounce
that.
it like Karin. I think it's really okay. So the Karen, we know.
Oh, well,
we know
explain
this
what
known.
that is. The Karen and the Kareem.
Okay, so do you know what the Karen is?
I've
Like
seen
the
her.
actual-
You guys know about Karens? Apparently, you have to be a white woman to be a Karen, according to the internet Google dictionary of what is a Karen or whatever. But I think it applies to anybody that is what I just said, like mindlessly irked by those who shirk rules that do not apply to life. They're not really rules, right? I don't know, but there's Karens, we all seen the memes. The Karens seem to also really like to cover their face so that no one can see their age. But in the Middle Eastern mythology, I don't know, it's the realm of the genie and the jinn. There's a concept not unlike the Greek idea of the daimon or the spirit, the helper spirit or guardian spirit, except they have one called the Karen, which I think is Qureen or something like that. I could be spelling that wrong. I could pull it up. Anyway, it's supposed to be the exact opposite. It is a spirit that is malevolent, and it's apparently assigned to you at birth, and the whole job is to just pull you away from source, unity consciousness, God, whatever you want to call it, all the time, just whispering in your ear, the sweet nothings, that moon cat thing. And I just found that out today that, oh, this is a lot like the Karen. Phonetically, it's practically the same thing. And maybe the Karen meme is the society's egregoric Karen or whatever. It's our way of explaining what type of people are slowly leading us into leaping, swan diving into the nothing.
Well, not to gossip, but I heard that if you are pretty much every other race that came up with the term, you're appropriating it by using it. So
I can't even research it.
I don't know if you can.
Can I type the
Right.
word in the chat? I will apologize for appropriation as I type the word in the chat.
It's tricky. You'd think educating yourself on something would feel okay, like that's allowed. So I think you can do it. If someone wants to get mad about you trying to learn about them,
What
maybe
was
they
the
should
word?
have a conversation.
I'm in the index here.
I'm searching for it now, but I would not be surprised if Sabak has put it in his book. I can't wait to get my copy.
Is it
It is on the way. Alan, I'll get you the spelling in a second. I have to remember myself.
Well, see, that's the thing, is there's alternate spellings for a lot of these words. So you have to kind of go with all the spellings and search. So if the word is Karin or Karinea, like Karina,
It is, according to Wikipedia, a Karin, spelled Qareen, but phonetically it is Qari with the symbol above it that means
yeah, you
sound,
can
and
see
N,
all of the
Karen.
all the
It's
inserts.
basically a Karin or a Karen.
Yeah, it's spoken about quite a bit in holographic culture.
Okay, so I'll just read Wikipedia. It says literally meaning constant companion is a spiritual double of human, either part of the human himself or a complementary creature in a parallel dimension. Due to its ghostly nature, the Karin is classified among the jinn type creatures, although usually not actually a genie. It should not be confused with the Karina as a female childbed demon, also existing in Middle Eastern faith. A childbed demon. I want to know about that one. That might
Yeah, I
be
can read
a
it to you.
further chamber in the rabbit hole chain.
Here's the thing with Pierre Sabak is he'll list the word on a page and it might not be the focus of that paragraph. So if you just find it, for example, this is the first instance, it's on page 117, holographic culture. On the Elakai, the high creatures page, it says, touched upon in the Quran, the readaptation of mankind by the Elohim insinuates the fallen woman Eve, a being extracted from Adam, man, expositional of a clone, symbolized with the Pentateuch. The lineage of Eve is duplicitous and signifies both a human bloodline and one which is substituted with the seraph, elaborated in the Arabian oral tradition as Karanah, preserved in the Arabic language. Karanah, a companion, specifies a type of jinn, an entity, discursive of a watcher or serpent, approximate in English to a succubus. And then we can stop there.
That's the childbed demon, is a succubus, basically.
It's a female demon as a succubus. It says in the Palestinian codices, Karanah is known by the name Lilith. Hebrew is Layla Ifrit, a night demon, from which Ifrit is a genus of malevolent jinn. It's a tongue twister. The translation of the Arabic masculine word Karin, feminine Karinah, a companion spirit, is the same class of demon as an Ifrit, Arabic fritar, meaning a deceiver, a permutation of the Greek noun fidi, F-I-D-I, meaning a snake. So it has the T to D erosion of the R phenom, meaning it could be Firi, like Kiri. See, that's the level of detail it goes into. We'll take a breath there. That's holographic culture, guys.
That's what we
can't
like
wait.
to refer to as a familiar. It can be a familiar.
Getting a reading from this book, everyone, is not your average experience because you cannot get this book on the interwebs, the Indra's web. It is only on physical media that is shipped from across the sea from codename Pierre Sabak himself. So not a cheap book to buy either with the shipping costs of the modern day. So appreciate this. I think we should make use of this resource. I will be. But
Yeah.
I think it's funny how it sounds like Quran. This type of demon sounds similar to the word Quran itself. What's up?
You'll notice that when you begin to read it, and I will say, yeah, I highly recommend it, Pierre. He'll sign every book. This is
He's like hashtag goals for interview target.
Yeah, this guy has dedicated his life to reading dictionaries and putting it together in a way that means something more than just reading dictionary definitions. He reproduces all the art, he draws it himself. So when you buy this book from him directly, you know it's paying for the last 10 years of his life where he's dedicated himself to doing the research. And when Seven Bomar just starts showing screenshots of this in his videos, it makes me feel more comfortable to begin to share it a little bit more openly. As before, when I was reading it, I didn't want to just suddenly start taking screenshots and share it on Tumblr and be like, wow, look at all this information. Because I don't know that people were quite ready for it in a way. So one of my desires or intentions was to find a like-minded person to discuss it with. So I've gently been nudging people, being like, hey, here's a screenshot of this book.
I take you
think you'll like
seriously
it."
after I read the never-ending story on your recommendation. I trust you implicitly with recommendations at this point.
Okay, I definitely need to do this now. Finally, I think I need to pull the trigger and actually finally read the never-ending story. Like,
Oh, that's an easy one compared to like Murder of Reality and Holographic Culture. You'll be done with that in a week. It's life affirming for sure. It was a while that I read it, and even last night during Vibe Rant episode 1 with my off the wall friend Jazz, the rapper with the W, I kept thinking of reasons why the never-ending story applied to the conversation, not just because he was talking about Sundog and Mooncat, which, by the way, Mooncat has been all over my day. I don't know who caught that, but it was a fun one. Vibrant is the new show I'm doing on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, I think. Probably Wednesdays going forward. We'll see. Just to hang out, kind of inspired by you guys doing the spider thing. I just want more of a free format with call-ins, community jam. So you guys got invitations to come talk on that.
Awesome.
For sure. Because we need these organic things where we can just spitball stuff off each other. Because, I mean, how else are in our regular lives is that this kind of stuff going to happen? Like us discussing Kareem, ever.
Nobody that I hang out with, like in meat space, can I talk to about it? That's for sure. Like nobody.
Right?
Actually, I did meet a real interesting fellow named Zon while I was at a retreat music festival thing. Only probably less than 200 people there. And so in the last couple of months, I have encountered one human being in the physical world that I could get into a fast-paced and titillating metaphysical tit for tat with. But still, not to the level of Spider Time,
Yeah. Like it's just kind of blown me away. Like the way this community is kind of just organically grown, through, because me knowing Lindsay and Lindsay knowing you guys, and then the Spider guys, and then Snake Jones being on there, and me having that connection, and then you being connected with Lindsay and having you on here. It's like the coolest fractal I've ever seen in real life. Like
my real entry point to the fractal was Matt Landman, who put me in touch with Lindsay. But I think I would have found you guys eventually because I believe Corinne advised me that I should get to know you quite some time before I actually did.
It may be something like that. That's what's amazing. Like there are forces that are putting us together, that are putting things and events and times and working stuff out, that I think it's an amazing time to be alive, man.
I received an email today from someone with a book about learning to communicate with your personal daemon and
Really?
utilize it. The opposite of this Karen thing, at least theoretically. What do you think about it, Jim?
Oh, I
Alan,
was on
Rachel?
that one. Oh, I was on that train. I mean, school bus. For me, it was a school bus.
Please tell. Like, should I look
Please.
into this guy's book that emailed me?
I could probably guess the name of the guy, unless he's an independent author. I'll just tell this story. So
I think it's an indie guy.
yeah, there's a
Pumpkin?
guy
Is
in
that what you're talking about?
Germany who's running a podcast. He was doing it during the lockdowns quarantine session, and he had an open call-in show. So I called in and got to know him. And like I said, he was in Germany and he wanted to do a late night Art Bell talk show thing, but with the time difference, it ended up being an afternoon for Americans, and most of his listeners were Americans. Anyway, I called in and I talked to him about a dream I had, and he had a dream interpreter on the show. I could probably find the link to that. I think it's still online, so you guys can listen to it. But I had a dream, and it was before March 13th, and I was on a school bus, and I intuitively knew the name of the school bus driver in my dream. Like I saw his name in my head in my dream state, if that makes sense. And during this time, I was reading. There's a Daimon book by an author, and I need to pull that information up. I'll get it when someone else starts talking. But the name of this guy was very similar to Canaanite. It was like Kenet, Kenneth. And I was like, is this my Philemon? Is this my name? Is this my Daimon talking to me? My bus driver?
Nice.
He's giving me a tour.
I'd
But
be
it was like a
concerned if they
never-ending-
had the Cannonball name, but continue.
Right. Yeah. But, I have an uncle named that as well. So it's like people get names and they don't know what they mean, So it's like,
Unless you're religious, then you definitely know what they mean. Like they pick very specific names because of the meaning. Like my name was going to be something different when I was born, but it got changed to Rachel. They settled on that. And that's, I've heard people say, well, names don't mean anything. It's like, yeah, but they're letters, and each letter represents a bunch of stuff. So not only does it sound a way, but you're speaking a lot of things at the same time. Like your program, it's kind of like running a program, I guess. Not quite sure how to describe it, but yeah, so
It
if
is
you
kind of
change
a
your
fake.
name, yeah, go ahead.
Well, yeah, so you were going to talk about changing your name, like for a person? Sorry.
Well, okay, so this just came up. Never ending story. That's the whole premise, is changing the name of the Empress. You change the story. The story is not the same, but everything's still there. So every time she gets a new name, she changes. So
That makes-
when people change their names, it completely changes who they are, even if they
Mhm.
don't believe it. It's magic that works. It just is. You don't have to believe it.
I
Sure.
had a different name on
And-
Facebook for a while before they forced me to return to my government issued name. And I think that I felt pretty different in that span of time in my life, actually.
Yeah, I had a similar experience where, like, my name is James, but I go by Jim. But for like a 2 or 3 year period, I was insisting on everybody calling me James, and like my life went off the rails during that period of time. And then I was like, it's not working for me as James, so I went back to Jim, and it totally fixed it. I feel
Yeah.
like it was that whole thing. Like it changed the gematria of the program of my name,
Mhm.
and it was like counter to what it should have been. It was super weird.
Yeah, that's funny. Chance and I were just talking about this earlier on Telegram about our animals, the naming our animals, because my dog Dinky, I originally named her Mina Harker after the vampire, Dracula's victim, who in but more after the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Mina Harker, where she's like the powerful vampire, But shortly after I got her, after she'd grown up, she bit all the way through my middle finger, all the way through the nail, and like almost took the tip of my finger off. And it was a complete accident. I renamed her Dinky Meat Feet, because she was growing at this weird rate, and she's never bitten ever again. It's never happened.
I once was bit that way by a cat that I was feeding Pringles when I was in second grade. I was shocked and felt betrayed. I just looked at the numerology or the full reduction of my name, my full name, and the alternate Facebook name I had. And my full name and full reduction came out to 86. And my chosen name that I used for Facebook before tyrannically being made to change it was 89. So 86 and 89, that's some kind of weird flip because they're totally different other than the word chances in it. But the numbers are 3 off from each other, and you could flip an 86 over and it would be an 89. So I thought that was kind of weird. It was like my bizarro name, my reflection name.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. It was my
It's like an
Facebook name was
anagram.
Chance Being Thunder, and I went to raves and did energy work on people.
Like when Steve Urkel says his name is Stefan and he becomes cool.
Yeah, I should pronounce my name Garton instead of Garton. I think it's better.
Sean's Gardon.
And I can connect it to the Atenist cult.
That's me too down here. I'm Don Gordon de Tucson.
Oh.
But seriously though, oh yeah, Raquel.
I can't rub my R's, so I can't do it out.
Raquel. But I do feel differently because I go by Gordon and Gordy. Like professionally, I'm Gordon, like in all my jobs and stuff. But my friends and family, since I was little bitty, I was always Gordy, because my great grandfather was also named Gordon, and we were around them, and so it was confusing, and so it was obviously a little Gordy, right? So it stuck. But personally, with like you guys and just friends and family, I'm Gordy. But when I'm Gordon, like I don't know. I went by Gordon for a long time, and I think I was different. You know, there's some sort of fate that's tied up in how people treat you, the way that you're reflected in your name, and the way that people's perceptions are of that name by who they've been conditioned by other people with that name. Like if I was named Pope, I'm sure that would have some sort of baggage.
Maybe maybe it's an advantage for me that most people don't have, that I'm their only chance for most people. I don't have any friends named Chance that aren't me. Never have. Only met a couple.
I've never known. I don't know if I've ever known another Chance.
I had a friend named Chance in school growing up, and his mother was a librarian.
So what are the chances of me getting this book out today?
Do you have anything
I'm sure
for
you've
us,
heard that
Alan,
one.
from your recent studies?
Yes, the name Anthony Peake is what I was trying to think about. He's the guy who's
I remember him going around with
remember
that
him.
Diamond book for a while. I
Yes.
remember
Yeah.
that.
Yes. Was he ever a guest on anyone's shows that we would know of?
I believe he probably talked to Sarion. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure. And I also think you talked to Carl Wood, if anybody watches his stuff.
I was just going to say higher side. Yeah.
Probably
That's probably where we
Skeptico.
heard him. Yeah.
Alex
Yeah.
Sarkis.
Oh, he might have been on
Skeptico,
Skeptico.
pretty
Yeah.
good.
Do you think Alex Sakaras would come on our little shindig?
He seems
No.
pretty cool.
He seems pretty cool. I would love to see him and
The only thing
Lindsay,
that's kept me from
like-
hitting him up for my show is that I just haven't read his book. I'm supposed to be, this is my reading time right now. I'm supposed to be
Summertime.
continuing to read Meditations by Marcus Aurelius before I get the huge
That's what my high
stack
school
of Pierre
teachers called me.
Sabak.
My high school teachers called me Marcus Aurelius.
Because you were a Stoic philosopher.
Cool as a cucumber.
You probably were always cool like that, huh? Like just level. Were you always a level kid?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Like Chance seems like that cool to me too. But like,
Well,
were
I
you
think
guys a
of the
hyper
Homeward
kid?
Bound dog. I get associated with that. When I was a kid, everyone associated with me
Oh,
the
yeah.
dog from Homeward Bound. So like the goofy but lovable but also stupid golden retriever. I was the always reading kid until puberty, and then I flipped from intro to extrovert. Now I'm kind of centrovert. That's what I aim for.
Like just kind of try to live in both worlds.
Yeah.
Why not? I mean, the world is full of polarity and duality, right? That's a very Gemini thing to do, is to live in introvert and extrovert. So for all these people in astrology who are like, oh, well, I'm a Leo, I must be extroverted. I've met some really introverted Leos. Like it just depends on so much and how well balanced you are. And if you want to be balanced, maybe you're here to be on the spectrum. You know, maybe, I don't know, your ratios, your percentages of emotion and feeling and empathy and frequency and all that's so different. Physiology for people is so different.
That
So you
word
can definitely be
spectrum,
that.
that can be a trigger for everyone.
I
I'm
know.
What do you mean? What do you mean? You think I'm a rainbow person or something?
Right. Right.
What does it mean?
I was going through my tweeters and unfollowing accounts that seemed to have no relevance to my life currently because I hadn't used Twitter for a long time very much. And one of the profiles I encountered had the hashtag actually autistic to claim that currency.
Yeah.
There was no other real evidence of autism on the page because the language all seemed normal and the ideas were quite vanilla and conformist. So I thought it strange that that was the only way we could identify whether or not this person was actually autistic was with that hashtag.
Yeah, because how else would you know? Like I've talked to people who think themselves to be autistic about things that concern them. And so much of it, I'm like, that's normal. That's a normal thing for a human to be concerned about.
Yeah.
You're good. You're good there.
Yeah. And the whole spectrum thing, I don't know how you even define it. It's one of these label things that I'm really having a hard time with how we label things and people and everything and putting, like, as soon as we do it, I think we're limiting those people. We're limiting ourselves of knowing those people.
Yeah, we need a different word for it, like a new
Yeah.
word. There's too much weight for it right now. You know, once
Yeah.
you explore it further, have at it, say the word all you want. But until then, maybe it's better if like somebody came up with a new word for it.
Well, it's an interesting word because it comes from an etymological root relating to being automatic,
Mhm.
which is controlled or something that can be programmed or driven or manipulated or is a tool.
There's a Rancid song about that, actually. That's very fitting.
Yeah. So it makes sense to engineer more automatic self-driving cars, bodies.
Mhm.
Just like in Minority Report. What other movies had self-driving cars? You guys remember that was
How about that
The
Will
Johnny
Smith
car.
movie where it was like iRobot or whatever?
Yep. I think there was one with Ethan Hawke.
Schwarzenegger, the what's the one on Mars?
Total Recall.
Total Recall.
I'm-
Thank you.
I'm gonna hold up my lightsaber and we're gonna send love and good vibes to Barsky.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's do that.
good idea.
Vibes to Barsky and love and good vibes.
Yes.
I really mean it.
Yeah.
We all mean it, man. I love it. That's the guy that's kind of gotten us all together.
I know. At least that's what I've only got to hang out with them in a chat once, and it wasn't even in here. It was like a phone call.
So,
Yeah,
we
we're all
miss you, buddy.
we miss you.
I do get a lot of comments from people saying, "Hey, I like your show, but I don't want to watch it if Barsky isn't there." And I'm like, "You're breaking
Isn't there? Hmm.
breaking my heart. They love Barsky so
That's-
much.
they love him.
miss him so much."
See?
Yeah.
Yeah, we love you, Barsky.
And I have to tell them, we need to continue doing the live shows. So there's a live show for Barsky to return to. And if you don't watch it and support it,
You'll never see Barsky again.
Somebody's holding him over a bridge by his ankles right now, going, they've got to watch.
Yeah.
They've got to watch. Are they watching? Are they watching Barsky?
Like and subscribe as his shoe falls in.
Right.
like Tinkerbell doesn't exist if we're not giving Tinkerbell attention.
Yes, exactly. The Barsky doesn't exist unless we give him attention. Likes and subscribes.
Share on your Facebook and Zuckergram accounts. We should be streaming directly to those platforms. We would do really well there.
You think? How long would we last? 5-10 minutes? Let's put money on it.
I
I'm
think I
saying-
called people who were jabbed retarded, so that's probably not PC.
You might as well. I mean, get it all out. Let them hear it. You're gonna boot you anyway, be honest. Hey, Chance. Speaking of that, one of the gene keys that came up for the week had to do with honesty. Trying to get my calendar back up. But sorry, did I make it totally serious?
No. What is
Okay.
what's
We
the
are
difference?
attentively listening.
Yeah, we're here for it.
Okay.
Good calendar, and we're
The
like,
I Ching was heavy today for me. No one responded to it in the Telegram group either. I think like everyone was like, too real. I don't want to expose that this affects me by commenting.
yeah,
Right. So here's the thing. The shadow is actually dishonesty, and the gift is intimacy. Because that's really what dishonesty is about in this context. It's not about lying.
Which number is it, if you don't mind?
I'm looking for the book because I'm like moving everything around. So I'm like, I don't know where I put that.
I can find my Gene Keys book if it helps.
I got it. All the important stuff's right where I need it. Okay, it's
I didn't mean to disrupt the flow state by
59.
asking for a number.
no,
but
no, I wanted to find it. I've been looking for it. It's so much easier. Yeah, because the goal, like the Siddhic state, which is like the highest state of consciousness, like you're talking God level, Krishna, Jesus, whoever in that time period that was living as a fully conscious being, because there's probably more than that. Or there can be. So that's the whole point of this, is to get to that state. But the thing about, intimacy is what dishonesty is trying to shadow away out of fear. And it's not necessarily like, yes, people can be dishonest to gain, but that is a reaction. They don't feel honest enough about their situation to get what they need in a better way. Does that make sense? So like the things that we consider super malevolent, as far as actions go, we really over villainize. It's like blow it. We're like, oh, that's so evil. When we're evil conscious, we're not seeing it as a worthy opponent, as a shadow, as something that can be transmuted. Because then that's too
as a
far.
moon cat to lead us to a sundog.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that.
That's in the I Ching dispersion. number 59. It is all about taking the negative and properly entropying it, dispersing it as it needs to, grounding it, putting it back into circulation, allowing it to be reused for the energy that allows life force to move around. So what you're talking about makes sense. The dishonesty is a barrier that stops a flow state from occurring. And that's the intimacy is the flow state, is getting past past somebody's persona into who they really are.
Well, and also with yourself, because if you think about intimacy on that level, you're doing this unconsciously for so long. Like, that's what's nice about epigenetics, because it draws your attention to the physiological process of that. Like, it sounds woo-woo to say it all from a higher place, but it is rooted in physicality. You can feel these things happening.
Google wants to influence your epigenetics with the algorithms that influence your shopping decisions and social choices. I played an internal video from them on Beth Martin's podcast that was for their employees only, that said, we will basically alter the genetic expression of future generations with our big data smart learning algorithms. That's totally off topic. The energy of the elements of that particular gene key or I Ching hexagram is water supporting wind, or like the abyssal, the dark, deep flows of uncharted, unconscious waters, in a supporting position of the gentle, the breath, the wind. So it is like equivalent to free flowing air across the top of deep waters. A clear ocean, cloudless sky, that type of a feel.
You have to
Meeting
develop
of
that if you are.
meeting of heaven and earth, for sure.
Yeah.
The thing
My
that
mind
came,
just went in a lot of different places there.
yeah, mine went to when Rachel was talking. I went to inauthenticity
Hmm.
is what cuts us off from that connection of intimacy. When we're inauthentic with ourselves, that's what cuts it off from our own intimacy with others.
Oh, we'll just draw others to us that have a similar issue.
Yeah, they'll have the same shallow veneer.
We'll be speaking to each other through plexiglass barriers.
Mm-hmm.
I would classify this discussion as talking about the Celestine prophecy without saying the word Celestine prophecy.
Let's talk about the Celestine prophecy with the word Celestine prophecy.
Because your description of it about honesty in the flow state was exactly what I was reading in the Celestine prophecy. So I was like,
It's should be on everyone's
yeah. I was like,
end
are
of summer
people
reading
talking
list if
about
they haven't read it.
Celestine prophecy without saying Celestine prophecy? It's like talking about the secret or the law of attraction without saying it's the secret or the law of attraction. It's like, let's just be honest and get right to the source of where we got the idea. Whether people like it or not, just speak truth. Say, that's where I first heard it. It doesn't mean that's the end of the research. That doesn't mean that's where the idea ends. But that's the beginning point. And if we're honest with that, we can all kind of laugh and say, yeah, haha, I read The Alchemist too.
Celestine prophecy came to me at the same time that I recognized synchronicity as a force in the universe and transcended materialist atheism. Right after those experiences began happening for me, that book fell in my lap and I went, oh, this explains what I'm going through right now. And it was a life changer. Definitely my starting point in a lot of ways.
Can I share a fun fact with you guys?
Just one.
Please.
Okay. The fact that we're doing this talk is actually healing the collective by vocalizing all of this.
Yeah.
This is Mercury in action right now. We just healed the gene key that is in Virgo, which is ruled by Mercury, and Virgo it's not a term limited to the feminine. It links back to both. So just thought that was fun. Yeah, Gemini is while you guys were talking, another key came to mind. So I looked it up, and that one's in Gemini. So we just healed a really big core root in the way we speak.
What do you
And
guys
we
think
create
about
by
holding
speaking.
back? I'm sorry, Rachel, go ahead.
I'm sorry, that was all I had. Just the way that we go about creating while speaking, because it's vibration.
Yeah.
Do you think
that's
it's
really
harmful
true.
or helpful to hold back your personal problems from public discourse? Or do you think it's not black and white when that is or isn't appropriate? Because I bet all 5 of us in here have got personal issues we don't want to talk about, even though we are open and honest in other ways in these type of conversations beyond the norm. Not asking for any dirty laundry, but I
Right.
just want to know what we think about that. If it holds us back to hold that in, or if it is okay to work in our own dojo on that.
Both.
Hmm.
I think it has to do with time. That's the 4th dimension. That's supportive. Those are numbers. Gemini is two people, each doing their work, creates a table, stability. Okay, aside from that, time being the 4th dimension, those things are absolutely necessary to vocalize. But because when that wound occurred happened at a specific time, it requires a specific time to heal. So you might desire to emote those things because you know that it's healing, regardless of what emotion it is. But without proper discernment, you're either going to scratch at the wound by doing it at the wrong time, or you're going to do it at the exact right moment in the right place, and it will be exactly what you need to heal it. And I think a lot of people run around thinking that, oh, I just got to speak my truth type of attitude, And it's like, no, you're just being a jerk now. So you're not waiting till the right time to heal it. So either you want to heal it or you don't. If that, So that's kind of what I think about it. It's more about the time, not necessarily whether one should or should not. It's about the proper time. So that
Jenny B made a good point that also is it going to inspire, or is it like more traumatic? I don't know fully what she meant there, but yeah, maybe.
There's a polarizing.
So I don't owe anybody my secrets then.
Yeah,
Is
there's
that
a
it?
polarizing personality who, if I say his name, people are gonna be like, "Oh, I have an opinion about that." I'll just say he has a book and he tells you, you know what, clean your room. So before I could even come on camera, I'm like, I don't even know what this camera is gonna reveal.
He's a drug addict.
Turn on a light and there's gonna be spider webs all over the bookshelf, and then there's gonna be like dirty laundry everywhere. It's like I can't have like socks hanging off of stuff drying out. It's like I gotta like clean the space and prepare it before I can invite people in to it. There's a certain minimum level of like hygiene that has to exist in the mind before you can begin to heal. Because if you're stuck in the mud, like the 4-wheeler behind my house that shouldn't have been there because it was flooded, and it just goes all afternoon, and I'm like, guys, stop spinning your tires. You're going in deeper. Just turn off the engine.
I was complimented on a spider in a huge web in the corner of my house by my house guest today. It was, instead of being scary or repellent or like you really need to clean up those cobwebs, he told me what kind of spider it was. He complimented the placement of the web. We talked about how many little bugs that thing is taking out. So pretty cool.
I've been using the word habitat a lot lately, and I think people are tired of hearing me say habitat, thinking
Not
maybe
me.
it's an excuse for not being clean or removing dead wood from properties or things like that. It's like, habitat. Those things can be there for a while. It's okay. It's a habitat.
I like that.
I've got a garden that isn't quite a garden, but things grow in there. And I have this old wood and it's just on the ground because I don't want things to grow there. And I lift it up and there's these 2 giant toads hanging out because it's shade for them. And every time I lift it up, they're bigger. So they're eating bugs and mosquitoes. And I'm like, that's their habitat, man.
I love habitat. I've got this side yard, and my sprinklers quit working, or I forgot to check them and make sure they were running right because they're on a timer, and everything kind of died. And then so I started like watering 3 times a day, and I hate mowing the lawn. And I've got instead of just having grass like everybody else in the neighborhood, I've got this beautiful garden of all kinds of different plants. They're not like grass. There's a whole variety of beautiful plants. It could be like weeds, but it's a habitat and it's gorgeous. It's like an oasis.
What about the Golden Compass, Rachel? I've never read it.
Oh, dude,
I
it's
haven't read
so
it
good.
either. I want to read it now that I've seen the movie because I remember a bunch of gossip and all these religious sects getting upset. They're trying to kill God. And I'm like, what? That sounds stupid. So I watched the movie because I couldn't get a hold of the book or just didn't want to read it or something. And I looked for that because I can spot that narrative. It's not difficult to hide. And I could not find it in there. I'm like, how are you seeing this as killing God? But now when you were talking about this here, about these egregoric entities and jinn and things like that, well, there are benevolent things that hang out with you. So in that context, that story is absolutely about killing God because that would have been that's your reflection. So
And
then
it's all about separating the soul too.
well, and you can't live without that. So somebody can insert a different one. Think about all the people who convert religions.
Is
You're
that a story
replacing-
about companion animals?
Hmm?
The what was the name of the movie in the book?
The Golden
Golden
Compass.
Compass.
Right, is that about a companion animal with the child?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they call them demons, actually.
Ah. Mhm.
Mhm.
I got a firsthand account of several interactions with Jinn last night from my visitor, Jazz, the rapper with the W. He is quite the psychedelic journeyman and has had way more adventures than I've ever had the courage to take. I had a very short-lived stretch there and also kept to myself when I did go into the space. So anyway, we had a long discussion about free will and about these entities and how many times after breaking through, something jumped in him, he talked about, and that he had a trick to make himself throw it up, but it would always be difficult. And so these weird things that he was conversing with or seeing while extremely, I don't know what the word is, altered, and then having to throw them up on purpose because of some intuitive knowing, I guess, that they shouldn't stay in. But I wonder how many people just are taken off guard, even from things as simple as drinking too much or smoking too much cannabis, and don't purge their systems or whatever, or if that's not even a relevant part of this conversation. I don't know.
That's relevant. Totally.
I think it's really relevant. It was occurring to me when Alan was talking about cleaning your room and having that hygiene. And I was thinking about this a lot, that a lot of us that have been or more recently had this kind of spiritual epiphany in the last 5 to 10 years or something like that, that spiritual awakening happened at the same time as a physical purge as well. You finally got ready to stop eating the bullshit, to stop putting sugar in your mouth and stop poisoning yourself. And you got healthy, and because you're trying to be finally authentic yourself, to find yourself again. And the only way to find ourselves is to be authentic. Now, like you were saying, Chance, I don't think everybody needs to know our dirty laundry. but we do need to have a level of honesty with those people we love in order to have an intimacy with them.
Jazz and I also talked about off the air the difference in our experiences in public school, being that I was codenamed GIF Ted, Alan,
Yes.
and
Is it GIF?
Jazz was
Just-
kept in the room next to the extremely incapacitated children in the remedial room,
like in
where
school
you
suspension?
see basically the kids that are not mentally handicapped but are treated as learning disabled, and they would put him next to the extremely mentally handicapped, I guess, as like a warning of what would happen if he doesn't take his medicine.
Wow.
Mm.
And I saw no difference
Wow.
between us, that I was so much smarter than him or something, but I'm gift head and he's learning disable,
Yeah.
pain enable. I don't know.
See that a lot in recovery. A lot of these guys that are really freaking brilliant dudes were labeled as dummies and put on Ritalin, like, or
And developed a
Adderall.
drug problem later, huh?
Right? Yeah.
After being advised to have a drug
Oh.
problem.
Well, making it legal for us to have a drug problem. I mean, they've given
Mandating
it right to us.
essentially. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because some of those kids are forced into it at school. Like my daughter, they labeled her really early. And my wife, thank God, my wife fought them tooth and nail for not
What was the
labeling
label
her.
specifically that they were trying to apply?
Sometimes it was hyperactivity, sometimes it was autism spectrum, sometimes it was
So there was
whatever.
no one specific label. They were just trying to throw a label.
a label so that these loser teachers didn't have to really do their job and actually love the kid and get to know the kid. It's so much easier to put them on a medication than to actually deal with a growing human figuring out the world.
That's true. My mom did that with my little brother. They tried to label him ADD, and he was really young, like early kindergarten. And it just aggravated her so much because it's like, of course, this small boy is not going to sit still in your class. Of course he's not. He's not at that developmental stage. She went on to teach at a Montessori school. She's kind of a natural at Montessori. So understanding child development and like, on one hand, spiritually, no, I don't want someone trying to program a child, but also they need to honor the physicality of that happening in the real world. You know, it's like when you label a child that small and you start, I mean, really, it's exactly what you guys are saying. It's setting children up for failure. And the only way that they're going to be able to cope with that spiritually is by engaging in the world. So eating, right? So they have things like marijuana and cannabis. Those are healing herbs. Every herb, like almost every single one. Of course, there are poisons. I shouldn't have to say that, but almost anything out there you can eat and it will nourish your body. So if you're having a culture that doesn't eat real food, they're sitting in an environment that's programming, you're setting them up, yeah, absolutely, to depend on a drug because you're not allowing, they're not even eating real food anyway. So even if they wanted to heal organically, how would they even begin to do that without the knowledge being taught in schools or at home?
Chicken nuggets. Just give the kid chicken nuggets.
Yeah, that's what kids eat. Chicken.
I did it too, dude. I fed my daughter tons of chicken nuggets because she went through a time where that's all she would eat.
Mm-hmm.
But I've told her, probably a dozen times, she's probably sick. I'm sure she's sick of me telling her, I wish I'd have fed you better, but it's young parents, We don't know any better. I know better now. I'd be a great dad now. I'd be a failure. I'd be a terrible dad now. I look at these
That's-
older
Such a
parents. I'm
hard
like,
thing, Gordon, though, being a parent and trying to feed a child, and they have taste buds developing and they're learning flavors, and you're trying to explain to them food is fuel and you want to eat food mostly for fuel to fuel your muscles and your brain, and you need like fats in your brain so your brain is operating. And then now there's a festival or there's a birthday party, or like we're gonna make your favorite food. So there's this atmosphere of eating food in a proper context, but everything wants to be a party or a celebration or a comfort food situation. And then if you try to tell someone that maybe you shouldn't be eating that, then they begin to get into a disordered eating situation. And you're like, it's such a tight rope to walk on.
yeah, because you use it as a reward.
Yeah.
And it hits that dopamine thing because you were rewarded for that thing. And so then that person subconsciously rewards themselves with the food.
Or very consciously, they're stressed out and their mind is just like, what can I do to
Right.
release the stress? I'm a kid. I can go to the freezer. There's some chicken nuggets. I can throw them in the microwave. Instantly. Oof. Chicken nuggets. Whatever the dipping sauce is from Rick and Morty at McDonald's, whatever that sweet and sour sauce.
Szechuan sauce, Morty.
That's what it's gotta be. I need that release. Yeah. You want to get into more hygiene stuff? There's a word I was thinking of, sanitarium. You guys hear that word before? You were
I
talking
mean, like those
about-
castles that are littered throughout the Southwest that were built by Mormons and shit. The Donner Party built amazing castles for the purpose of mental health.
Yeah, there's that Greek god Hygeia. And then I was going into the word hygiene, hygienic, sanitary. And then there's this other word, sanatorium. And it's, let's see, it's from Latin sanatus, or the past participle of sanio, to cure, to heal. So there's this other word that has to do with an institution that treats chronic diseases and provides supervised recuperation and convalescence. But that's not the same as sanitarium, which was coined by John Harvey Kelly, being a blend of sanitary and sana, S-A-N-A, torium. Is your head spinning yet? And who's John Harvey Kellogg? Is he the cereal guy?
I believe that he advised people that they would go blind if they masturbate. I think
Yeah.
I think he was the guy that made his food bland on purpose because it would
The
prevent people
cornflakes
from
guy.
being. It was for the goal of preventing unnecessary stimulation that could lead to sexual arousal through flavors. So
And wasn't he also pretty
Kellogg's.
invested in enemas, or like yogurt enemas and stuff? Or am I just crossing my wires with a movie I saw one time?
I hope
I
you're
think
right.
I think the yogurt enemas was that lady who scammed a bunch of people and starved them to death. I think the guy you're talking about was involved with the graham cracker, right?
Yeah, that could be.
Alexander Graham Bell. Ring a bell? Ding dong, the phone's ringing. Your Diner Dash orders here. You ready to get food delivered to your house? Feeling bad? Pick up your smartphone and oh, there it is. Boom, click. Oh, slash pizza and wow chat. There it is.
Oh, I feel better already. More sane.
That's the one addiction I don't think I'll ever be able to resist. Cheese.
Cheese.
It's doable, man. Let me explain. Dairy is scary.
I don't want to give it up because it's one comfort food. It's like, oh man.
Yeah, but it's not as hard as it seems to give up. Actually, if you've been off it a month, you won't even really think about it.
Yeah.
Oh man, I
Yeah.
live in Minnesota though. You don't understand the Wisconsin connection and that fresh dairy cheese, man.
I don't know what your allergies are like if you have them, but I had allergies so bad that they made me get shots a couple times a week for a
Oh.
long time in my 20s, and they were horrible. My arm, where they gave me the 3 shots, this was before I realized that that was the mafia, and that my arm would swell up like the size of a golf ball under my skin. And I stopped eating dairy, and I was no longer allergic to cats or dogs or horses or outside or anything. And if I ever slip up and even just get a little lactose, I go off for a day or two. So I went back and I told them, hey, I think I don't need to come here anymore because I changed my diet and it seemed to have really affected my symptoms. And they said, you'll be back. It's going to just undo all of this work. Aren't you afraid that you're going to undo all of these injections we gave you by
What?
not coming back for the last 2 years of it or whatever? And I said, I think I'll take my chances. And because at the point where I started really getting, the longer I did it, the worse the swelling would get on my injection sites on my arm, because they had to up the dosage for whatever reason. So when I first started, they were like shooting me with a vial of whatever this weird red liquid was. And then by a few years in, I was getting like 3 vials at a time. God, I don't even fucking know what it was. Freaks me out a lot, actually. But
Were they taking your blood?
no, they were injecting me with some liquid that had a red label on the vial and looked like it was reddish liquid. Don't know. It was supposed to somehow make me not have allergies to nature.
Practicing medicine.
So I had these swellings that would come up from the injections because they're putting so much stuff under my skin. And I brought in essential oils one day and I showed it to them. And I was like, look, when I apply this after you give me the shot, all the itching and swelling is prevented. Do you know about this? And then none of the people that worked in the place had any idea that there was such a thing as oils that were essential to plants and refined from them. And they were so much more effective than the weird, whatever the ointment was that they would offer me to help me with the horrible itching and swelling, which the ointment really did nothing. So anyway, that was like the beginning of the end for me trusting the mafia to take care of my health. But I don't know why I got into that tangent. Dairy. Sorry. That was a good
Well,
tangent.
that was
though.
a good one.
Yeah,
I thought
seriously.
some great stuff.
That's part of the mental hygiene, though, is you have all these bad ideas mixed with ideas you can't confirm or deny yet, mixed with ideas that are related to traditions in your family or your church or whatever it is. And they're all competing, and you're like, I just don't know. And I don't have the time to pursue each idea to its endpoint to determine what I need to clean. Like, this doesn't bring me joy anymore. What's the name of that Netflix Asian lady? She's like, this doesn't bring you joy anymore. Get rid of it. It's like, yeah, but cheese melted on pizza brings me joy. And I'm not ready to get rid of it. And if I got rid of it, there'd be such a vacuum in my life. I might start drinking more coffee or something. I don't know.
I've been
what's
cheating.
happened to me.
I've been cheating and eating non-dairy cheeses sometimes. And
You-
it's a real gamble. I'll tell you that. But I
Yeah.
found some that I like, but then all the others I ever tried, except the very ones that I like, are bad, real bad.
Dude,
But if
am
it's made like
so-
homemade, like cashew, a friend at this festival I went to made cashew queso, and it was kind of a little spicy, had some kick to it. There's no reason why that's not as good as like a different type of nacho dipping sauce or whatever. It's doable. It just takes a different train of thought.
that
I'm
kind
not
of
saying
stuff
you
is-
got to do it either, Alan. I'm just saying you can do it. I thought cheese was the most important food group too for like 26 years. Long time.
I wonder if it's from the treatment of the animals, you know, like all the hormones and steroids and
Mhm.
I think that non-pasteurized would maybe be different for me, but maybe not. But for most
No.
people, it's definitely going to be better. I just haven't
So-
had the opportunity. I don't want any farmer friends I know to go to jail. Be put,
So-
be put in a cage.
Giving up bread wasn't that hard either. Like giving up wheat wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. because I'm pretty sure that I was celiac. Because anytime I have bread or wheat coating of anything, like it messes me up.
Those are the
And-
slave foods, by the way.
Like, right.
Bread
Yeah.
and beer.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't do beer either.
Mhm.
Like, it messes up my gut. Something fierce now.
Yep.
Is
That's
that,
what
what is it that Virgo holds in her hand? Isn't that the sign we're
The
entering?
beer gut. It's the water bearer. It's like the guy who's walking around with the beer gut. He's like, real
the
thin
bad-
guy.
Do you have the wheat?
The bad mom who feeds her children without pursuing the thinking to the end of the line to know if it was okay or not, like you were saying.
Okay, but hold the phone. There's like a whole deity you guys are bashing right now because that's like all she's about. Bacon bread and dairy. Women used to make beer. Now it's a man's thing.
Is it einkorn?
No. It's Bridget.
Brigitte.
Brit. Brigantia.
I apologize for the bashing.
She brings.
No,
the
I'm just giving you a hard time.
Brigitte bashing.
I'm just giving you a hard
brings
time.
the baguette.
I know. I'm not.
There's
I'm
really
not
good
phased.
things about this stuff. You just have to find it and eat it in moderation. You know?
And
That's
go-
how you get
And the
out.
right quality, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure that if I ate heirloom wheat, it's okay with me. But the processed stuff, if I touch it, it's terrible.
Process.
It wrecks me.
element,
finding heirloom.
complex.
It's hard. It's hard to find. But it's fine living without it. You learn to adjust. And it's a good growing experience when you adjust those things, when you cut the stuff that's hurting you out of your life.
Can I
But
share?
yeah,
a
I mean,
magic trick?
You feel powerful.
oh, do you have a magic trick?
Yeah, there's a magic trick for that.
For
Yeah,
For
no,
me.
I was talking to somebody at this event that I went to about this because they were talking about giving up meat. So here's what you do. If you want to like quit doing this, like stop eating a thing, or you want to have a better relationship with it, you have to be in that moment when it sucks and start loving it in the moment. Like if I eat a cheese that makes me break out, be like, you know what? Thanks, body, for doing your job. You're so awesome at doing your job. Nothing can beat you. It starts to happen less and less because my body's like, oh, I don't need to freak out. I know what this substance is. On top of doing, other things like eating better.
It's really important what you're saying. Actually, here's what happened to me over the weekend. I'm talking a lot. Is it okay? I want to tell a quickie.
Absolutely, please do.
I was trying some cell salts that I picked up online, thinking that they were not made with the lactose base, and then I got them and they were. And I did that. I told my body, like, we got this, let's do this. But the next day, which was the day I was going to this festival over the weekend, on the drive there, I got clobbered by horrible, like sneezing, congestion, watery eyes, itchiness, fit. Totally the symptoms of when I've taken in dairy, which I just had. But when I got to the land, even though theoretically I was always told that it was the outdoors and nature that was causing my symptoms, I got there, got out of the vehicle, shoes off. Within 20 minutes, all of it alleviated just from me being in that bubble of psychic energy of a bunch of people that, aligned or whatever, and getting into a flow state and being grounded. It was just gone.
That's awesome.
You know, that I've really been on this kick of over the past 2 years when I changed my diet of kind of cooking intentionally, because you have to cook everything if you really want to like eat naturally at all. Like it's expensive and you've got to know what you're doing, unless you not know what you're doing really, but like doing it with intention so you're not being wasteful. Does that make sense? So I started really like that, just doing meat and high fats and vegetables, right? And adding in dairy and cheeses later on. But doing that really got me into this real intentional push of kind of each recipe and kind of developing it as a science, or as a hobby.
Mhm.
But it was sacred to me, because I'm finally loving myself to actually make myself better. So every time I cook now, I sing and I try to put as much of a kind of intention into it. And it really makes a difference in how you feel.
It's cooking with love.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
And you know what?
Is it okay to
Developing
love cooking instead of cooking with love?
It's the main.
I love cooking.
Me too. I really love it now. And like that's are you talking about the other cooking? Are you cooking other things?
No,
Chance?
Gordy, get
Wait,
your
what are
mind
you
out of
talking
wherever it is,
about?
bro. I mean, like, I'm my favorite cook. I don't even go to restaurants. I made the best tacos ever tonight. They were totally acceptable, passable, better than Taco Bell vegan tacos with even cheese and everything. Alan, like,
Dude,
they were hardcore
the
good
vegan.
and gluten-free, organic. The works.
Yeah, and you have to do that with intention. And when you're kind of getting that flow, it'll tell you what it needs. I've found like
Describe
it's
the
kind of that
texture.
it's kind of that
Each palate.
qigong kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, really,
like, if you need
whole
it-
foods go with each other. That's another trick to it. Like when we're eating processed this with like this type of sauce, and another thing that came out of this box. The more of that there is, maybe the more room for screwing up because it's already complicated. There's already 39 ingredients in the barbecue sauce. But if you've got some vegetables, it's probably gonna work. Like you could probably almost do no wrong,
Mhm.
or some vegetables. And if you eat meat, whatever, simplicity and whole foods, how do you really even put things together that don't go together? You know what I mean? So that
That's
opens up
intentional
cooking to the layman in a huge way when they can go, oh, if I eat the whole foods, I don't need a recipe for anything, and I can just eat what I have.
Here's the magic: spices. Because
Mhm.
it's going to change the flavor, it's going to change everything you love about cooking, but it's also medicine. So you're
Yeah.
without even thinking about it, you're cooking medicine. Like
Yeah.
you don't have
Turmeric.
to take a tincture every day if you don't want to.
Mhm.
Start cooking with stuff like herbs and spices.
Turmeric.
Turmeric.
Yep. Golden
Did we
milk.
just have a
Jenny
turmeric?
Garlic.
suggests crystal.
Yeah.
How about crystal plates and dinnerware?
Did
I'm
Jim
into
say
that.
turmeric?
That'd be
Rachel,
cool.
when you're talking
Turmeric
about the
powder.
spices, if you use, I found that pink Himalayan salt
Yeah.
is
Who else said turmeric?
100%.
I did.
I do.
Why did you
It's-
say? Did we all say turmeric at the same time? Let's stop and think about that for a moment. Who said turmeric?
I said turmeric powder. That's what I said.
Why did turmeric come to our minds at the same time and we all said it?
We all need it, yo.
Because
Yeah.
it's a big deal. You need it. I take it. I was taking it before anyway when I was kind of detoxing, but I add it into everything now. Like even on Band-Aids, like if you get a cut, put turmeric on it before you put the Band-Aid on. It makes a big difference.
It's
Right.
an anti-carcinogenic.
All right.
Yes.
But like not every area grows this. So how can it be that this is like the greatest thing we can all experience if our genetics are from different parts of the world? Like, and people totally lived and survived without it for a really long time.
I
What
could
if
have
there's
said
a
cumin.
long-lasting human civilization where everything was available everywhere?
I could have said
And it wasn't that
paprika,
long ago.
but we all said turmeric. Why did we say turmeric together?
Yeah.
You know what
Turmeric.
I use on wounds
Think.
is oxy, ozone infused like ointment. That's really, really great for wound healing.
I've never heard of that.
There's a local veterinarian that uses, it's like basically an olive oil infused with oxygen molecules in a way that your body can use it cellularly.
Sounds cool.
What's it called?
I call it like oxy, OXY ointment. If you type that up, ozone therapy, I think might be the keyword you want. That's an interesting field to investigate if you haven't. Not related to turmeric, but related in the sense that ancestors probably wouldn't have had an easy way to make that. But it smells like ozone, like a lightning strike. There's some really interesting electrical properties that interacts with your body in a rapidly healing way. I've had one tiny jar of it, like a cosmetic size, and I've had it for a long time, probably maybe even past the potency window. Maybe I'm placeboing because it doesn't take much.
It must be important because when I looked it up, the Google was like, "Tell me where you're at first before I tell you anything about it." So they must be tracking it. Whenever I look up, how do you blow your brain? The Google's like, "Let me know where you're at first."
Yeah.
They're always trying to distract you from any natural healing. Like I get so much.
Oh, it's prohibited by the FDA. Just so we know, it's a toxic gas with no useful medical application.
That's like the attacks that kratom has is bullshit, man. They've been attacking kratom for a long time, and I know a lot of people that have gotten off opiates with the help of kratom, and it does wonders for jonesing. It really does. And there's the only reason to make it illegal, which is what they're trying to do, is so that they can sell Suboxone.
Well, also, it would hurt the coffee industry. I was drinking it to get off of coffee and you see what its other healing benefits were, because it has some. And I liked it better than coffee, except that it tastes like dirt.
They're in the same family. It's in the coffee family.
Coffee's a major reason why we're where we're at, yo. Major reason. How much of
the pine tree?
Yeah, it doesn't grow.
What would really happen if you took coffee out of the equation right now?
I'd be sleeping.
Yeah, probably me too, man. Yeah.
That would hurt.
That would hurt. That would be that.
Think about all the I love
would
coffee
it hurt or would
merchandise.
it fix a lot of shit? Would it help us? I mean, what did I post? Were we not talking about this? Starbucks goddess.
I'm sure any industrialized food
Telegram chat
food sources.
That Starbucks is a flex. Serious flex for people.
I equate the whole 1990s with that decade. To me, in my mind, is coffee. Every sitcom features a coffee shop that I can remember. All the friends go to a coffee shop.
Can we decode coffee?
Frasier goes to a coffee shop. Everyone's at a coffee shop. There's these identities that form, entities form around what type of coffee you drink. And did I get your order right, sir? Did I write your name correctly on your coffee cup?
Well, it's an
Coffee
addicted
equals 4, so that's a very foundational idea.
That is foundational. It's something you can still work on. They get everybody hooked on alcohol, and people can't do their slave jobs, but you get them hooked on coffee. And
coffee addiction is 11-9, 9/11 in gematria.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Just
That's
throwing
crazy.
words in the gematria calculator.
And coffee addiction is 9/11.
It's 11-9.
11/9. That's
Same
crazy.
idea. Yeah.
Oh man.
That's 119. Coffee addiction, English ordinal.
That's my last addiction, man. That's the one I stick to.
I go to sleep because of I convince myself to go to sleep because of how excited I am to drink coffee as soon as I wake up. I'm like, go ahead and go. If you go to bed right now, the next thing you'll remember is waking up to get coffee. That's pretty serious. Oh, on addiction, I'm glad we're still on it because I was talking to Clive DeCarl the other day, and he talked about selenium as a supplement that can curb addictive issues, help curb it.
Oh, right. I've
cravings
heard of
and
that.
what selenium, easy to supplement, doesn't cost
Selenium.
much.
It cures dermatitis, dandruff.
Really?
Selenium is a cure for dandruff. It's like the
And
active.
this crystal is selenite. It's almost like selenium.
Is that heavy? That
Yeah, dude, it's a huge fucking flashlight in the handle. Super heavy.
I was gonna say it looks freaking heavy.
It's serious, dude.
You could hurt somebody with that.
Yeah, become enlightened. You only get one shot. It'd probably break. I don't know. This one's really sturdy. I have them everywhere. I'll grab a big one.
Are those stones or buttons?
They are stones, but they are carved into them. It's the different settings. Like, let me turn it back on. The top,
Oh,
it awakens them, and the bottom, it kills them. And the green one makes them fall in love with you. It's different settings.
Nice.
how cool is that? That's neat.
That is cool.
Yeah, whenever I have addiction problems in my life, the yellow button falls off. It's happened more than once.
Really interesting.
The solar plexus willpower button falls off my magic wand when I have willpower problems.
Oh, hey, I was going to tell you, when I don't even remember where it was, but you were talking about how you always feel it in your solar plexus when you're really in flow. That I've felt that, man. I don't feel it in the heart chakra, or I always feel it in my solar plexus, like right here. It's always like somewhere out like here, right? Like you
Yeah.
can feel it when you're in that flow.
When your chest is coming out, like in
Yeah.
Donnie Darko, when he gets out of the chair.
Just gonna say that.
Jim watched Donnie Darko and he kept me awake telling me everything about it one night. Jim, what did you learn about Donnie Darko that night?
Oh man, all kinds of stuff.
What did you dig up? What do you remember about that?
I think it predicted time traveling Trump and 9/11, of course, a bunch of stuff. Saw a lot of interesting things. The mascot to their school was it had a bulldog's head and a man's body.
The Dog Man.
The dog man was a chimera.
Yes.
And a sundog.
Sundog.
Yeah.
You know, that's
I'm sure that
That's
statue
wild.
gleams in the sun. The statue that was defaced. Sundog was attacked by Mooncat in an attempt to destroy synchronicity and luck.
That's a chimera is made up of all the fire signs. It's all the fire signs in the chart.
I did not realize that.
Yeah, that's what that is. That's a lot of archetypes to tackle. That's a big beast to take down. We just went through an air portal, so any sort of air entities would probably be attacked right now, or coming in or coming out. So that would be, I don't know, like a Pegasus. What do we equate? What's our modern mythology right now when we think of these things?
Well, when I
Well,
Google search for any of this stuff, it brings me back to like a World of Warcraft wiki or like a Skyrim wiki, like the Elder Scrolls lore. We were talking about that earlier in chat. Like, I'm looking for specific academic information, and it wants to bring me to a wiki fandom for some mobile game that uses the name of a mythological creature, and that's not the information I want.
It's
Google.
the only information that's acknowledging that side of the equation, but it's doing so in a way that's tricky. Because think about other air animals like the eagle. Think of all the people in history who've used an eagle.
I don't trust those guys.
Yeah.
Mhm.
On August 25th, 1835, the first in a series of 6 articles announcing the supposed discovery of life on the moon appears in the New York Sun newspaper. Known collectively as the Great Moon Hoax, the articles were supposedly reprinted from the Edinburgh Journal of Science. goes on to explain who it was that wrote the article, claiming to be a famous astronomer. And as he describes it in the article, he had found evidence of life forms on the moon, including fantastic animals such as unicorns, two-legged beavers, and furry winged humanoids resembling bats. The articles offered vivid description of the moon's geography, complete with massive craters, enormous amethyst crystals, rushing rivers, and lush vegetation. So I guess at any time, including 1835, there would be fantasy getting in between you and your search for a reality, which is what a newspaper would have theoretically been, you know, some place to try to capture some truth. But you get that. So,
Right, you can't tell somebody that I astral traveled to the moon and this is what I saw, because all of those symbols are things that you can understand when you go there. Like it's where fantasy is literal, where everything really is that way. And that's because that's what you can see. So that's what the moon has always represented. And it's also true. So when people are like, oh, well, there's life on the moon, well, only for people who have been there, who have actually conscious with their consciousness. Where our society wants to take the physical realm to the moon. You can't, it's not how the moon works.
well, is the moon artificial like that story is artificial?
It's a light. So I don't think so. I haven't come to a conclusion on what the actual moon is, what I really think or decide about that.
We just had a full moon.
Yeah.
So do you think that's
It was a
one of
good one
those
for me.
Oh, me too. It was really good. It was
First
a really
moon in
big vibe.
Aquarius. I hear that there were some alignments that put us in a similar energy as the eclipse in 2017, which I was in totality for in Missouri here. And it was pretty pivotal moment for me in my life for that eclipse to happen the way it did. And the gematria channels I follow, mainly Gematrinator, my friend Derek, who's been on a few times on Interverse, he has an entirely mind-melting 1331 eclipse crucifixion code that ties in everything from Kobe Bryant to the Gateway Arch and coronavirus and the Pope, and also the eclipses, man. The Great American Eclipses of 2017 and 2024. Really weird stuff. I would like people to look at that and also wonder what's going on.
I know what's going on. What's going on is this is actually our second Aquarius moon. I made notes about this. It is the second Aquarius moon, while the sun is it's going through all kinds of stuff. It started in Cancer with the first one. So it's healing. Aquarius is healing the things that surround Leo, the feminine side of Leo. So that's what's going on.
I have a question for Rachel.
Yeah.
If I can set this up a little bit, earlier we were talking about coffee and coffee shops, and I was remembering in the sitcom Frasier, the fictional coffee shop is named Cafe Nervosa, and I was trying to think, is that like part of the brain, or what is Nervosa? And then I was searching Nervosa, which brings me to anorexia nervosa, which brings me to an album called Cancer, which I think was the final album of a band with a name. Can you tell us about this band?
Showbread?
Yes.
Showbread is a Christian hardcore band, and they're from Georgia. And they have this double album with anorexia and nervosa.
Yep.
You cannot listen to it without reading what the booklet says. That's incredibly vital because they're not the same thing.
Can I pause there for a moment?
Yeah.
We were talking about magazines and newspapers, and I was going to ask, is there a magazine or newspaper named after the moon? Because I know there's Stars, Star Tribune, there's The Sun, but is there anything named after the moon?
There is. Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead. What is it?
Oh shoot. No, maybe there's not. It's the Reverend Moon owns a paper called The Sun, I think.
So are there news sources named after the moon? I don't really know of any off the top of my head. the song Mouth Like a Magazine has a video, and that's from the band Showbread. So I'm putting together all of these ideas that we're talking about tonight in the context of the band's output of Showbread. And I know Rachel has seen that band, and that band has influenced her life in such a way. And I'm like, was their final album called Cancer? And are they singing about topics that other Christian bands would not be allowed to speak about? And how do they get away with it?
Yes. Yes. And I will tie all this in. The double album is the same as the sisters story that is in the Old Testament. There are several sisters stories. Gemini is not always Romulus and Remus. There is a set of twins that were female. Cancer is the biggest mother wound. Do you know how many people I read cards for this weekend that were cancers? It was hilarious. It was wonderful. I love Cancer. America is a Cancer. And if you're going to have a leader, think about what type of mother that leader has. Think about monarchies. Think about all that stuff. Kamala Harris, she's not a mom, but she is that visible female presence. So we're healing that because in Aquarius, we're all meant to be the sun. And that's what you were saying, Alan, with the mouth like a magazine. I thought, well, the moon's kind of like a mouth, but the only thing that we hear about, like, think about the Daily Sun or, things like that. That was my first thought. We're changing reflectors, whether the sun or the moon is real or not, we're creating it in a way. So it's real because of how we're all looking at it. Our relationship's going to change. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's not real, but that's the thing. That's the whole point.
What is
But
real?
is it that biocentrism observer effect thing that nobody knows what that reality is up there? So whoever says they're observing it is actually making that reality, because we don't know that until somebody's already remote viewed it, or like if we give that credibility, which I actually do. That's some pretty credible shit, some of that. But whoever's saying it, they're the ones that are making it. Because we're making that stuff as it goes. I think we're creating that reality. And that's that thing I talk about a lot, is this whole I'm God, you're God thing, because we are creating reality as we speak. We are not separate from God at all.
There is a moon matrix idea that many people have begun to sort of discuss. I think there was a man, Ike, who was talking about this in the 90s. Maybe he was wearing teal jogger suit, and maybe he was talking about moon matrices, which is like a mothering word, right? Matrice.
Matriarch.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and so it came
Christ figure.
in that chat. Sorry?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh, no. Same time.
We want to hear Jim spit it out.
Oh, I just said sort of a Christ figure, that Ike fellow.
Yes. Yes. So I'm kind of hesitant to say certain names, because as soon as I say, well, I got this idea from this person, they're like, I don't like that person, so I'm not going to listen to the rest of the conversation because I'm shutting down Jordan Peterson. No.
He's a drug addict.
Yes, he's such an imperfect human, so why would we ever listen to an imperfect human?
Well, that's the same argument why it's cool to like Stalin now. I'm not disputing you, Alan. I've seen some weird stuff from the Pepsi party.
Well, because on one hand, you could be totally gracious. Maybe subconsciously, they're like, this guy's so amazing. And like, we're all sitting here like, he's so imperfect. And the sad part about it is that acknowledgement Like, I feel like people like him try to point out how imperfect we all are, but nobody's actually listening. Because if that were true, he wouldn't be on a pedestal and we wouldn't even have to have the conversation.
Well,
You know?
people do that. We do that to them. Like even subconsciously, we lift these people up over ourselves. I don't know. We've been trained
I
to
want to pivot to
believe in a
pedestals.
cult.
I want people's perspective on pedestals with this pivot.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. This is important.
I want to mention Dias. There's a record company called Dias Records, which is kind of like a pedestal. And it's got a band called Drab Majesty. Just putting that out there. What do you guys, what does everyone think about, what does everyone think about the way that we value the feminine for beauty and pedestals? Do you think that we're messing up the fractal by teaching children to value genders this way? That beauty, you know, is a currency for the feminine and for the masculine sometimes.
Well, but how does that even, and check this out. Like, I was gonna say that so backwards. My brain's way ahead of me. Okay, so think about like Leo, because we're going back to like, these are the wounds we're healing, right? This idea of the feminine. How do you, as a man, balance your feminine qualities if somebody's messing with your view of the feminine? So this is all the stuff coming up. Like when we're talking about Greece and like all these, you know, icons of hip hop or whatever.
There are manuals for men being written right now that instruct us to ignore her beauty and to never compliment her on it or think of her in that way. And to, if an infatuation occurs, think of them as interesting or decide whether or not they are interesting and avoid beauty as a label and as a conceptualization in our interaction with women. This is being taught by Zen men who are wanting to help you become a Jedi lover. What do we think of this? Is it toxic to?
Yeah, it's toxic.
Is it toxic to do? Is it toxic this way to think of it, or is it toxic? What happens when? Because I think I've seen it in the past. Women I've known that I've dated or whatever been with that were way too concerned with how they looked, and I would be kind of required to feed it to maintain my part of the social contract to the relationship. Would be to be like always reassuring that they're beautiful. But is that psychologically helpful or is that a nervosa disorder?
Well, there's a big difference between always feeding it and not acknowledging it at all.
Right. Interesting. Yeah.
Because when you don't acknowledge it at all, that
they advise in these manuals, they advise you not to acknowledge it unless you've landed the woman. Sometimes they do want you to acknowledge it then. Anyway, I just wonder if we're doing psychological harm to, you know, oh, you're such a pretty princess to the 3-year-old and all the way up the line.
Oh yeah, that for sure.
I think this is the part of the show where we all apologize for the unkind word we said about Lizzo when we were talking about the rumors video the other day. I saw some really mean comments in chat related to McDonald's and hamburgers and eating foods, and it was just really mean what people said about this public figure who was literally sitting on a dais in her music video, which is like a step pyramid that they put the throne on, in which she's literally sitting on one.
She was a pedestal. Wasn't she wearing a little hat that looked like an ionic Doric? A Doric.
Was it a Statue of Liberty thing?
Color.
Yeah.
It's that rumors video that nobody watched.
Ooh.
Trying to get you guys. Here's
I
the
watched
thing.
it.
I was in there.
Put it on mute and just
watched
watch
you
the
guys talk about
visuals.
it.
It was a hauntingly sort of annoying song, actually.
Right.
Hey, Rachel, can you help us understand more about this healing the female side of Leo? Is that okay place to return to? I feel like we veered away fast.
Oh, you're
Oh,
fine.
Really, really
Some
interested.
trails go there.
We're doing whippets.
Epiphanies.
We'll get back to it, maybe, if we feel like it. It's like we all have our own.
I'm
train
trying
of
to take
thought.
control of the flow here, guys. My bad.
Because you're a professional. I'm
Yeah.
just here. I just
In the
show
zone.
up. I don't do stuff.
Well, that's what I'm doing. I'm throwing ideas at the wall and I'm trying to see what sticks. And sometimes it's planting seeds to see if it takes a few shows before someone's like, oh, yeah, didn't he say something
Yeah.
about something 5 shows ago? And we weren't listening to him then. But now, in my personal life, I understood. And then we all say turmeric at the same time.
Right. Yep. It's and something will pop up.
In comedy,
Some-
is that called a
some sort of
callback?
Weird synchronicity is going to pop up with this discussion tonight. Oh, I got to go get my book. That reminds me. I'll be right back.
Gotta get the book. Richard Kelly wrote a book. The director of Donnie Darko wrote a very interesting book. Jim, do you remember that?
Practical knowledge engineering.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got it right here. Yeah. It's an interesting book. It's about knowledge engineering, practical knowledge engineering, and creating systems for knowledge engineering in companies. I couldn't figure out what the heck it meant, but it sounded important. That's why I bought the book. And it's super dry. It's for, just like practical knowledge engineering is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Super dry.
Is that the one that? What's the author's name? Is that the guy that talks about DNA being a system and?
I don't remember getting to that part yet, but it was the guy that wrote and directed Donnie Darko wrote this.
Oh right, no oh okay, right, Donnie Darko guy.
He's a genius, apparently.
And that's the guy that worked in all the esoteric stuff in Donnie Darko.
Yes. He's
Jake
from
Gyllenhaal, right? He played Donnie Darko. Did he also play Spider-Man?
No.
No. He played a jarhead one time. He's played many things. He was the Prince of Persia.
Okay.
Video game lore
Oh,
spilling
right.
into Hollyweird.
Okay. So
Well,
I
that
was-
game
That is
that movie-
also filled with Ahrimanic ideas. Prince
Yeah.
of Persia
so Jake
Jake
Gyllenhaal
Gyllenhaal.
played Mysterio.
by Disney.
lots of
Both by Disney. Mysterio too.
Hmm.
I guess it's not necessary. You can just assume it's all Disney at this point.
I was confusing Jake Gyllenhaal with Tobey Maguire
Michael Garfield.
and Michael Garfield. Did you understand the
Andrew
meme
Garfield.
I posted in the chat we were talking about in the Vibrance last night? The chat, that Masonic, like the motherly sounds from the temple, playing the music videos in MTV. And there was a 2003 Music Video Award ceremony with some kissing from a Madonna, a mother figure, Madonna,
There you go.
kissing Britney Spears, but not kissing the genie in the bottle, Christina Aguilera.
The white and the black. The blonde and the dark-headed one.
Yeah, so
But
Christina
Eve and
Aguilera.
Lilith, or what?
Well, she had been a blonde-haired girl for so long, and now she's on stage with dark hair because Britney Spears can be the only blonde. There can be only one, right?
The light sister is more loved than the
Mhm.
dark sister. The dark sister is usually exploited heavily. It's also a really weird kind of, I don't want to say Oedipal thing, but that's what comes to mind because that's what I got. But it's the inner child. It's this affirmation of this mother likes this version of the maiden. I favor this version of myself. And because they're grown women, it's throwing sexual attraction into the mix. I'm also attracted to women because I love my reflection that much. Does that make sense? It's a very, they're showing you the reflection right now.
So
In
we're
that
back to
ceremony.
Leo,
Yeah.
back to the feminine side of Leo here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Leo, like spotlight, Leo is the icon. Leo is who you see as your reflector.
And both the light maiden and the dark maiden lose the dragon fight and become the same version of the matriarch later. How do we break that cycle? I just mean like the pedestal and the scapegoat, or whatever, the golden child and the scapegoat. That dynamic it's a never-ending broken feedback loop.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
I'll post some videos that I found by Alyssa Tran because she covers this really well. I'll put those in the chat at some point. But it just requires reworking, recoding that relationship. And that means you also have to decode it. You have to explore everything. You have to administer justice to it as you heal, grace and justice while you heal. That's the only way to do it. As long as I hate Lilith, if I hate that archetype, I'm not actually going to heal it. It's going to linger there. It's going to become an egregore or something. And it's not going to be. Yeah, look at her. That's exactly how she looks. Like, that's the thing. Yeah, it makes so much more sense when you can see it. Did you ever see that movie Mirror Mask?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Mirror Mask. Not sure I can dive into it at the moment, but watch it later.
That's that weird animated.
Yeah, Neil Gaiman and
Neil Gaiman. Thank you.
yes. Yeah, the artist, I can't think of his name right now. The artist who illustrates a lot of his stories, if not all of them, is the one who
Is
did
it-
art for that.
Right. Is it Bill Swiesnick or something like that?
No, it's
Maybe I'll have to look it up.
yeah, I have to look it up.
But it's really cool. It's a beautiful movie.
Mm-hmm.
Mirror Mask. I have to check that out.
Yeah, let's finish up with this image so I can take it off the screen because it's hogging the entire screen. So this was a result of the new trailer for a new Spider-Man movie, which apparently is it going to feature Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man and then also Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. So they're like crossing.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. They're doing the
Timelines.
multiverse. They're doing multiverse so they can bring in all the different Spider-Man.
Spider-Verse. That was actually a good comic. It was kind of
That's
before
what-
Disney was really wrecking stuff over there. The original.
Yeah.
There you go.
It was
Sorry,
all about
I have to do this
energy vampires sitting on the threads of fate, the web of fate. They were interdimensional energy vampires and they were hunting the Spider-Man down. I doubt the movie will really have anything to do with this. They're hunting the Spider-Man down to kill them and eat them. They literally served Spider-Man on their dinner table for their bloodline family they dressed like Victorian nobles and they lived in a very Romanesque perfect world in the prime dimension that was the origin of all parallel universes, the center of the webs of fate and destiny. And the reason these interdimensional immortal energy vampires were hunting Spider-Man across the infinite spectrum of existences and worlds to eat them is because those that had the spider sense were able to move on the threads and the webs of fate and the multiverse and destiny with free will and choice, and they were not tied to any one fate that had been woven or weaved for them by the fates symbolically. They could move on the threads without getting stuck. And by consuming the energy of the Spider-Man, these interdimensional vampires were invigorated and given, superpowers to keep hunting down more infinite versions of Spider-Man. And it was a perpetual system of Spider-Man oppression. And the original Spider-Man teamed up with some of the other popular versions of Spider-Man from across the Marvel multiverse, and they fought these interdimensional vampires and teamed up with a lot of fan favorites.
You know,
It was a pretty cool arc, actually.
that is a great arc. You know,
Like it.
I was thinking about that this week. I'm so glad you brought that up because, like, now that you're more spiritually aware, like, doesn't that stuff have a really different ring to it than
Yeah, I have a Spider-Man
when you read
tattoo.
it,
I didn't even know
like-
what I was getting that for.
like it was amazing. I was posting it and
Had this
we'll-
since I was like 22.
I want you to talk about the One Day of Brightness too, Chance. But I was thinking about that today, that, you know, I've always said that those things are like putting superheroes together, you know, like making a super team. And this is our Professor X. Like the stuff that the people that she's brought together, like it's like the Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters, man. Like it's crazy the kind of people that we've found that are finding their own power. And I was thinking about X-Men's God Loves, Man Kills, and there's a whole the whole point is a preacher gets people gets society wound up against the mutants, and they even develop a shot to make it so you can choose to be normal or not, and how the mutants are demonized throughout society. Like they're the outsiders of all the outsiders. And I'm seeing that right now, like in society, the way that comics have subconsciously or consciously predicted our futures. Like these guys are in flow when they're writing this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are, because it's the same story. So of course you can predict it, but what they're doing is exactly the essence of the multiverse.
It's
Right.
Odin trying to find it. It's Odin trying to defeat his fate.
That's why Doctor Strange is the most realistic
Yeah,
superhero. Like
that's
the magician, like tying in the multiverses.
yeah.
Is this movie Doctor Strange references or comic?
I never read the comics, but I did like the movie.
I saw the
the
first
movie-
movie.
Yeah.
The movie did a good job, but I mean, I loved the real weird storylines.
I cut Marvel out of my life. Well, I cut Disney out of my life, and Marvel is part of that. It was a hard boundary to put up after being such a huge Marvel Comics fan forever.
I get it, man. I really have. It's been hurting the last 10 years, man.
I'm just tired of seeing the archetypes corrupted because
right.
it
Right.
actually affects the fractal. And if I'm taking that in and accepting it as still something I want to entertain my attention with, it means I have given up my say in the dialogue between self and archetype. And I'm not ready to do that.
Our Gods Wear Spandex, Christopher Knowles. When did he write that book?
It's a great damn book.
2004, 5.
Mm-hmm.
I have it somewhere, probably with a bunch of my old comics too. God, that thing's great. Have we ever asked Christopher Knowles, or have you ever asked to talk to him, Chance?
No, I like him, but I never have. I feel like
He'd be an interesting get.
I know he would. Actually, I may have emailed him before. I've read more than one of his books. I feel like that qualifies me to interview him. Maybe I
Yeah,
should.
for sure.
He was
Because
supposed
Maybe
to
he'd
come
be
on
in.
my old show before it ended. He was gonna in the future. The RX Only Picture Show.
like we're all comic nerds. He might actually do it because he did an interview with Miguel from what's it called? The Gnostic
Aeon Byte.
Aeon
Radio.
Byte. Thank you. Yeah,
Gnostic
He-
Radio.
Can we
He
address
did that.
something?
yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Factoid. I emailed Pierre Sabak and Miguel Connor and introduced them, and that's how Pierre Sabak appeared on Gnostic Bytes Ion Radio.
Nice.
I love matchmaking podcast guests for shows I like.
Yes, I needed to hear them in discussion.
That's perfect.
There was an interesting Philemon connection again. Snake says that Carl Jung Philemon inspired Spider-Man. Snake Jones, tell us more about that. And then I was reminded the Epistle of Paul to Philemon is simply known as Philemon. It's one of the books of the Christian New Testament. It's a prison letter co-authored by Paul the Apostle with Timothy to Philemon, a leader in the Colossian church. It deals with the themes of forgiveness and reconciliation.
I want to hear what Rachel has to say, and then I got to jump. 2 hours in.
Before you jump, jump in there, Rachel, and then I'll do the.
Oh, no,
I
go
think-
ahead. Oh, well, okay.
Oh, that's when we're at a closing
I'll be
thing, right,
fast.
Gordy?
I'll be
You don't have
fast.
to be fast, Rachel. I want your train of thought to pull fully into this station. If you got the steam power.
Yeah, I can condense it. It's good. So with comics, if you erase everything like Marvel, because I'm going through that, like I have Doctor Strange. That's the only Marvel movie I will own. If I get rid of it, I also cut out dialogue with my family. It's a mythology that their minds can handle. It's a language that I can speak. So that's something to consider. This is the air trine. This is mental. Cleaning your house. This is it. This is that work. This is where the masculine, if you look at that Madonna meme, everybody wants Tobey Maguire, the Britney Spears, the dream girl, the blonde, the one everybody wants, the one everyone sees. Their favorite vision of themselves as man in that dynamic was Tobey Maguire's kiss. That is what they want. Can you have that in all these other movies? Can you relive that moment of polarity coming together in such a way that you can get away with butchering the story no matter what? If you can have that moment, that's because sometimes when you flip it around and you make things into feminine, it's because the masculine is looking at that polarity as well, looking at himself, looking at his own mirror in that way as well. How do I look if I step back from the situation? What do I look like doing this? Is that how I want to see myself? Is that how others want to see me? And that's so Leo. That's why we have to heal these feminine wounds, because for those polarity dynamics to work, you can be whatever sexuality you want. You just need to do this work too. These things need to be questioned too. So yeah, that's where my mind went with that. But also comic books, I read manga, okay? Those are still comics. And a lot of women read manga. Fun fact.
I've watched a couple anime lately and this should be a whole nother conversation topic, I think.
Yeah.
Illuminati symbolism in anime. I just saw a lot. And also, Sarah. Oh man, Alan, have you seen Trigun? We got to talk about the seraphic symbolism in Trigun. Holy shit. Anyway, that should be like a whole Vibrant episode maybe in the future.
Anime in general and the Japanese perception of the Western esoteric tradition is like a whole series of
Let's have that
thoughts.
conversation and bring video games into it later. And I'm in.
Yep,
Okay.
I had to hang
Intention set for
the
that.
link back up, use our link. A link to the past,
He was a missing link.
Ocarina of Time, right click, save as link. It goes deep, man.
Chain link.
Now you're thinking about blockchain again. And if you have
That's a blockchain word.
free NFT, it's still on my Twitter. I still have that pinned to Twitter, so you can
Is
all
it a
meet for
GIF
free.
NFT?
Dogecoin. Yes, I am GIF Ted from now on. That's my name, GIF Ted. Smooth. That's me.
All right, Jeff. We're gonna do this thing.
Thanks for letting me hang out. By the way,
Guy,
this is
dude,
awesome.
thank you
Uh,
for coming. Rachel, thank you for that rant. Thank you for coming on. This was really fun.
I'm
You
asking
all
chat
have
right
an
now.
open invitation to my new show, Vibrant. And everyone in the chat is also invited, and there will be call-ins, and it will be weekly. And it will be
Awesome.
an extra show on top of Interverse Weekly.
Do you know
And
what?
it will be,
what-
I don't know, I think Wednesday at 8 or 9, something like that. Maybe 9 to 11 Central.
Final call right now for chat to tie up any loose ends. If there's any thoughts that we just kind of left dangling and we need to kind of clarify, or any questions while we're still here,
I'm abandoning Chad.
let us know.
Okay, so this is interesting. It's called, so again, all endings are beginnings. This is,
I have a copy of this book now, thanks to Snake Jones.
yeah, dude, thank you, Snake Jones, for doing that, man. It was a cool thing.
Yeah. Thank you, Snake.
So this is called Molten Gold. The broken shards of self we've discovered can always be fused into something more beautiful, something more whole, and something that will ripple out and affect all of those who encounter its light. The cracks we fuse back together with molten gold give us our depth, our character, and our intricate beauty that points us towards the truth of nature. Everything that serves its purpose and everything that has its place. Piece yourself back together into the oneness of all that is. You were never anything but whole.
All one is the same as alone. Spelled the same. So you're never alone, or you're, you're always one,
Like that.
or you're always alone. Whichever way you want to think
And-
about it.
And as we heal ourselves, we heal each other. Like you were saying, Rachel, thanks for saying that too. Acknowledging
Heal the
that,
world.
that
You
we're-
heal the world alone, right? You don't have to do
That's
it in a
right.
group. You heal the all one through healing yourself
Mhm.
alone.
there are no media in what's the word? We need no mediator. We don't need a Christ. We don't need a president. We don't need anybody else to tell us what to do or what to think. There is no division between us and the all.
Yeah. That's so powerful. Like, that's exactly what the government wants you to remember, that you do need them. You do need the one, the all. Only we can talk to China. You know what talks most? Money. I mean, you guys saw how, like, in Moscow, the people were like, we're not giving these businesses our business if they want us to have the vaccine. You know that they like pulled that order out so fast because those businesses started hurting. You can talk
That's
to
right.
China directly, whether you know what I mean? It's that deep. It's that as within, so without, as without, within. It just goes and goes. That's
The
it.
flow state of currency through the currents and the banks of the world's deposits. I don't know. That's you hurt their flow state basically.
Yeah, it never
Hurt their
ends.
money, hurt their flow state. It doesn't work. It's a biorhythm. It's got to keep homeostasis maintained. Hey, here's some good music.
Well, in a blockchain,
Okay.
that blocks your vision of what prosperity is.
I kind of missed it. Can you say that again, Rachel?
Oh, yeah.
You're
So
breaking up.
the word blockchain, I probably am. Hear better now?
Not really. Try it again though. Keep going. Oh, we don't hear you now.
Okay. I mean, a lot of people like crypto, so yeah,
I'm not a big crypto
it's
fan
okay.
myself.
I mean, it's just one of those things like there are really positive sides to it, but also it's affecting your values and what you believe to be valuable. And it can potentially be another tool to cut off your connection to the real world. That's what I mean, a blockchain. It sounds, but think about the word block. So just had that.
There's that milk crate challenge meme that people are sharing with me, and I'm like, are they stacking blocks? Is this just more blockchain programming?
Yeah.
Is that what that is? Well, I've seen that. What is that about? I don't understand that.
All right, I'm bowing out, guys.
I haven't done my
Okay.
homework. That's a loose
you,
ad
Chance.
hanging vote
Well,
tally for another show. But it's just one of those organic memes, man,
Thanks,
that
Dave.
arose in our consciousness, and we're all thinking, "Oh, milk crates, okay." Chains stacking things, yeah.
I think it's dangerous to have to bring a third party into our system of trading. You know, it'd be like I wish I could just trade what I make for the things I need.
Mm-hmm.
Can't, so I need money as an intermediary, and then but you know you've got to add a processor and a system and computers and a whole holographic system of a network. It's just it's a dangerous I feel like it's a dangerous thing to lean on.
I think I have a final thought. So people are stacking these milk crates in such a way that they're building a dais, a platform, or a pedestal, and then they're climbing on top of it, but it doesn't support their weight, so it becomes an epic fail, LOL. So people are trying to place themselves up on a dais where they can sit on top of a throne, but no one's ever able to sit up there in a secure way for a period of time that is like a king on a throne, and they always fall down before they can get up there. So maybe that's something about self-sovereignty. Maybe they're trying to attack the idea of self-sovereignty. Maybe. Like
But we
it's
can all be a
impossible.
king on a throne of milk cartons.
Milk duds, man. What's a dud? It's the guy who tries to climb up on the milk crates and falls over, right? It's a failure.
I got one of those big milk duds at a movie theater one time, and it got kicked over during the middle of the movie, and I was sitting in the back, and they all went tick 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 tick, like all went thinking all the way to the front of the theater.
Was it a midnight showing of Donnie Darko?
It was
It was always Rocky Horror for us, and then you'd hear the beer bottles and the little, everybody sneaks in the little nips, and you're in high school and you stick them in your pockets, and then you hear all the clink 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 as they roll up to the front.
Yeah, they do that now. We have the Alamo. It's like that's its whole thing is that it's like dinner theater. So many people have gotten up and there's like beer cans on the ground and because you can drink in there. That's not as much fun.
You have to be
Yeah.
drunk to sit still to watch any of the giraffes showed in the big screens today. For the most part.
Oh, I'd imagine you. I'd have to.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could sit through that garbage anymore.
Well, their whole thing is that they play like classics. So they'll like decorate and make a big thing over watching a classic movie or a
Oh.
Star Wars film or something like that.
Well, that's at least I can get it after that. Like seeing a classic movie, like seeing a Akira or something in the theater. That's pretty cool.
Sure, they've done that.
Like I took my daughter to see a live performance of Nosferatu, and it was a group called the something Czars, the Fabulous Czars. I'll think of it. Anyway, they did it's an instrumental group, kind of a like mini orchestra, but they were playing all sorts of weird, creepy instruments too to get the Nosferatu vibe. Man, it was the coolest thing. It had such a different vibe to it. Now I'm adding like all sorts of occult things to it. I want to go back and watch that stuff, like the Golem. Like, have you ever watched the Golem or Cabinet of Dr. Caligari?
Yes.
Those are full of occult symbolism from the 20s, and they're silent movies. Oh, and Metropolis too. Like that stuff is crazy occult.
Metropolis, yeah.
I love it so much.
There's an anime version of Metropolis as well. The Japanese perspective on that.
Ooh, cool.
And I've said it once and I'll say it again. The Japanese culture took the Western esoteric tradition, all that it contains, all the Kabbalahs, and they didn't have any sort of affinity towards those ideas. So they were able to play with them in their own way that European Christian cultures were not allowed to do because it would be considered heretical. So the Japanese are just freely playing with these symbols in interesting ways, and then they translate it to English and it doesn't quite translate, but the visuals, since it's manga or anime, it's a visual medium, those symbols resonate so strongly in the images, in the moving images. I just froze, but
Yes.
Oh, you're back. Okay. I was gonna.
it's nerve again. NERV. It's like nerve. I had some nerve damage, so I froze. And NERV is the name of the nerve center in Evangelion. You know that series?
Mm-hmm.
What's the full name of that?
Neon Genesis.
New beginning of Evangelion. What is that? Like an angel alien situation? And the whole center is NERV, going back to nervosa. So you have like, what is that? Like a nerve in your brain, like the vagus nerve, vaga nerve. That's a whole nother can of worms. And we're trying to close the can of worms, but they keep crawling out.
That was a good one.
Yeah. So Shinji, I had a cat named Shinji, and he and I sat and watched anime one summer, specifically Neon Genesis Evangelion. So I named the cat Shinji. The character's name's Shinji. And Shinji is having some daddy issues in this anime. And this little abandoned kitten was just whining and crying the entire time, just like Shinji Ikari in the anime series Neon Genesis Evangelion. So had I named that kitten something else, maybe it wouldn't whine so much.
It's in a name.
Names.
It's in the name. Nice. Bringing it back. Alan. You're
It's
very
the
gifted
nerve.
at that, my friend.
Yeah. Yep. That's why they call me Jif Ted on Twitter. Wait till I change my name and people who don't know who I am have no idea who Jif Ted is.
Well, you are very gifted.
I'm just going to post animated images from TED Talks that I found amusing. And this is my final thought, again, for real this time. Getting back to Amal and the walk, I noticed there was a TED talk from the guy who was working with the 9-foot puppet Amal, the siren, the Syrian energy of the 9-year-old girl who's representing the crisis of Syrian refugees. Siren is a warning call, literally a wee woo, wee woo, wee woo. There's a siren going off about the crisis of Syrian refugees. So when we were talking about Greece fires, Amal was walking across Greece. And there was a TED Talk posted about that. So I think I could make some GIFs from TED Talks, post them to my Twitter, and it's GIF TED. You think that'll get some views?
Yes.
There's always that meme.
It's a long way
There's
around.
always
it
like
is.
they'll
Always
say
comes.
something. They'll say something brilliant, and they'll be like, well, "Thank you for coming to my TED Talk." Walk away.
Yes. That's perfect.
Ideas worth spreading on Weaving Spiders Welcome, the anti-TED Talk.
Thank you for coming
To my TED Talk.
to my TED.
Chris Webb.
Just
About
start.
to get. Oh, I should have kicked out while Alan was still talking. Hey, go on for a little bit.
I'm leaving before you leave, man.
Oh, I'm gonna go. That was great. Thank you guys for hosting.
Rachel, thanks for coming. That was really fun. I really appreciate you doing that.
Yeah,
That was
I
great.
need that. Thank you.
Come back again.
Yeah, seriously. Please do.
I will. I'll
And-
take you up on it.
Yeah, this is going to be good. And
Cool.
Alan did kick out before me. That jerk, man. I am going to get him back. I'm going to get him back. Okay, bye.
Thank you. So
We love you all. Remember, until Saturday, we live in your minds. We live in your head.
Nice web, Mr. Crack Spider. 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 The web structure was not affected. Bug spider, Mr. Crack Spider. Nice web, Mr. Crack Spider. The web structure was not affected. The spider can't go within 100 centimeters of the web. The spider can't go within 100 centimeters of the web. The spider can't go within 100 centimeters of the web. The spider built a web, found a mate, and raised over 100 young. But the mate got a restraining order, and now the spider can't go within 100 centimeters of the web. The spider built a web, found a mate, and raised over... The crack cocaine spider figured building webs was for suck it.